Evening, live here.
What?
How are you? You're in Florida with us.
No,
Hashem.
he's here.
He's not here.
Your father went to Buffalo for the birthday party.
What's the birthday party?
Barry Greenberg's 75th. I don't think they made
He's
it.
75? Wow. He looks like a young man. He looks like a young man.
He actually got a man too. I think he still has some regular hair.
Shikayach, listen, he made a shidduch of his oldest daughter. He married her off. Never married.
How old?
I think 44, I think.
No.
Older than 44?
No,
I think his oldest, no?
Yeah.
Feldman. It was his second marriage. Pinchas Feldman's son in Sydney.
She was close to 50.
It was his second marriage. He's a Kohen, but he had to marry Grisha.
She was close to 50.
Close to 50. Wow. So I think he's younger. I think he's a few years younger than her. Okay, Rabbi said Kiddush. Hilchis Kiddush. Simen Reish Ayin Aleph, I think. Simen Reish Ayin Aleph. I think we are holding Sif Gimel. Am I correct?
Yes.
So it's page in the new print, page Reish Chavav. Reish Chavav.
Now we're davening already in such a way that
You can't make it.
we have said in the Gunim from 6 to 4:45.
Oh yeah, in the show? Oh, wait a minute.
Every Friday.
Who is running it? Have we ever?
Yeah.
Together.
Oh, Friday
Is there a big oilum here in Shabbos?
night now. Shabbos morning, yeah.
Friday night about 2-3 minutes. Shabbos morning about 5 minutes.
Oh wow. Still a big crowd here.
When it's a big Kiddush, yeah. If what?
It'd be a Kiddush Friday night. There'd be a lot of people.
I got it.
Maybe it's start doing it.
Chazal already said, Gedoylo Legima Mekarevis. The drink brings people closer.
Yes, 100%. The home of Israel.
Chazal set up so the Shabbos, a Kiddush.
Why do you think
A Yom Tov.
Why do you think make Kiddush in
How do you get the family together? You have to have a meal, otherwise that's it. No one's interested.
Somebody who went to
Put some food on the table. Suddenly the oilam comes to life.
Like when you announce,
You can see last night.
the Zot is
Yeah, there was a big fabring in here.
right, when you announce the Zot's coming, all the keep coming.
What was the story about something?
We announced in our family, we announced the dessert before Chalent.
Otherwise they don't come.
The guy announces it when they come, we say, eat your Chalent, you get dessert.
What was the story about somebody who gave a shir in Sidis Friday night and used to serve something that was alcoholic, and then they told him to stop, and then they came back again and said that it wasn't, the attendance was low, so he said that.
I think it was the Rebbe Marash, right? It was like punch, they called it a punch.
Yeah.
Kvass, maybe, punch.
The guy lives next
He
door.
used to always talk about kvass,
Yes, yes.
the drink that they had in Russia.
Right. The guy lives next door, Mermerston. Two brothers, now one married, so this way he's here. They used to do every Friday night to put it in the website. From all over, children in Vancouver used to buy like for $2,000-3,000 every Friday night. I used to see people coming from all over without Hanukkah, but Jewish, just to get a test of children and Mekarev.
Wow.
And they
Beautiful.
said whoever married first get the house because the father gave them the house to fix it, a lot of money.
Went to the brothers first.
The brother owned the urgent care here. That's his, and he has a house on 27th Street. Okay.
Okay, Rabbi says, Siv Gimel. Yesh nizharim shel kaddish v'shel yishayna shalayil. Some have a minig not to make Kiddush the first hour of the night. What does it mean, the first hour of the night? This means a day is 6 to 6. 6 and on, 6 p.m. and on is night. The 7th hour, which means after 6 hours went by, 6 to 7, afternoon. Ella, rather, what do? These people that are cautious about this? Either they make Kiddush early, they take in Shabbos early, or after the 6th hour, after the 7th hour.
Yeah, Rabbi, but that's talking about the 6th hour after Chatzos, right?
Meaning 7th hour.
But we don't make Kiddush between the 6th hour and the 7th hour after Chatzos.
Right. So once it hits 6 o'clock,
But if
Once it
Chatzos
hits 6
is
o'clock,
12,
it means it's 6
But if-
hours went by.
if Chatzos is like 12:15, wouldn't that be from 6:15 to 7:15?
Very
That's
brilliant
what my
question.
Rav said. My Rav Nufti said.
Brilliant question. Give me a minute. Very good question. Let's finish the sif and we'll get back to your question. What's the reason for this minute? The entire week, every day of the week, there are 7 mazolis, constellations, which continue to switch every 7 hours. And the mazel that is going to fall out after in the 7th hour on Friday night is the mazel of Maidim and Samel. Samel Samach Mem. That's the Samach Mem. And the mazel of Maidim is the mazel of red, of Mars, has the power of that hour. And it's not a good sign. And the Samach Mem has the powers over that. So therefore, there are those that are careful not to make Kiddush during that hour. Well, Kvarnis Bar, we already explained in the beginning of the previous sif, that one should make Kiddush right when you come up from shul, when it's still day. Because remember, they used to take an early Shabbos. So they would make Kiddush right when they came home, so they did not get into this problem of the Kiddush Shashis. Now, but Rabbi Davis is Shaila. Yes, from the reading of the Shulchan Aruch, the literal understanding of Shulchan Aruch, Chatzos Hayom means noontime. Noontime does not mean 12 o'clock. That's in the secular calendar. By Yidden, Chatzos means Chatzos, and Chatzos changes during the year. What time is Chatzos now? I don't know, but look on the calendar. When's Chatzos?
Maybe a quarter to
After 1.
Maybe a quarter to 1.
No.
It's around 12.
Between 12 and 1 o'clock is Chatzos always.
Kavada or
12:10 is Chatzos. 12:10 now, today.
12:10. So Lamaisa, it fluctuates. So if it fluctuates, really every week we should be looking at the calendar, seeing when Chatzos and Friday is, and say 6 hours from then starts the 7th hour. But we don't do that. People are doing, those that are keeping this minhag are doing a flat 6 to 7. So so someone asked the Rebbe this, and the Rebbe said that he doesn't understand where this minhag comes from, but this is what he sees, that those people that keep this minhag, they do it 6 to 7. Now, by the way, this happens to be different in different places around the world, because when it says on the clock 12 o'clock, it's not really 12 o'clock. In New York, we are 4 minutes off the line. 4 minutes off the line, because really, as you're going different degrees and you're moving, the time changes. But we only in America, they only make changes over an hour. Chicago is an hour behind us, right? Yeah. California is 3 hours behind us. So we do by increments of hours. Reality is that time changes even in smaller portions. But we don't have half hours. I think someone told me that in South America there's a place that where they do, or Central America, where they do a half hour change.
There's a mountain in Central America, I forgot the name. And that side of the mountain is 12 o'clock, and the other side, the same mountain, the other side is 12 o'clock.
in Indiana,
the clock thing. Because they fight over something, and they decided.
Kentucky and Tennessee also.
Anyway, but La Loche.
Yeah.
So Lamaisa is that so what really in New York it means it's 5:56 to 6:56. In Australia, let's say, I think in Australia, it's 20 minutes to 6 and 20 minutes to 7. Now, HaKiddush b'Yom Tiv, I don't think outside Chabad that anyone is careful with this minhag.
6 and 7?
Yeah.
Only Chassidim.
No, the other is the Kurfar.
They are also?
I know my
Baba Viz?
For sure.
My
know my
father
neighbors
was a
all-
visitor, and he
Okay.
also kept 6 and 7. He didn't make Kiddush. He was
Interesting.
not
Okay.
the center. He learned something, but didn't make Kiddush. Not
Interesting.
just Chabad.
I thought it was mainly a Chabad thing. By the way, when the Rebbe was asked about this, he said, "I did not know what my father-in-law did, the Frierdiker Rebbe, nor can I tell you what my father did, because both of them, by the time they finished learning and davening, it was well after the 7th hour. So he never knew what they held about this minig, whether they would keep it or not, because it didn't occur that he should ever see them be ready to start the Suda."
Why didn't ask him?
6 or 7.
No.
Ask him.
It wasn't a Geya.
Way after.
He was saying, why didn't they ask? But he didn't ask. Maybe he was also davening very late. He didn't need the Shiloh. It was not Geya to him.
The Rebbe never started Suda till the Jewish Rebbe.
But you should just know that when the Rebbe would have a Fabrengen the next day, a Fabrengen Shabbos, one of the secret signs was that there would be a Fabrengen. Sometimes the Rebbe didn't say. The Fabrengen was that he would that night, Friday night, he would, after shul, he wouldn't go, he would stay in his office, he wouldn't go home right away. He'd stay there for an hour or two, because he was learning, preparing Fabrengen. Then he would go home. So he would sit there for a while learning. I heard a story from someone a neighbor of mine, he told me that he was a bacher then, and he was eating out at someone's house who lived right across the street from the Rebbe's house. When he finished the meal, he came out, and he sees the Rebbitzin come out of her house. And, no one really had a kesher. Not too many people really knew the Rebbitzin. She was a very private individual. But the Rebbitzin motioned that he should come over. And she said she wants to know what's going on if something happened in 770, because the Rebbe didn't come home. He never came Friday night. He didn't come, and he already finished his meal. But the Rebbe didn't come home. So even though the Rebbe normally would stay later, but this late, she was worried. So she said, did he say a maimer? Did he say a sicha, Fabrengen? Did something happen? He said, no, it was a normal ma'ariv, and we all went to our meals. So while he was talking to her, he saw at the ending of the block that the Rebbe was approaching. The Rebbe had turned on from Brooklyn to President, and the Rebbe was coming. Now, he didn't like the scene over here. He's standing here with the Rebbitzin, the Rebbe's coming, he wanted to get out of here. So he starts to make a line for the bushes, and the Rebbitzin didn't like that. She said, "You're leaving an old woman on a street in New York?"
Whoa.
Because the Rebbe was at the ending of the block. So he had no choice. He had to stand next to the Rebbitzin till the Rebbe came, and then the Rebbe came, and then they walked forward. And
why the Rebbe did not tell the Rebbitzin, I'll be late? It's not fair. She's waiting for it. It's also not fair.
Maybe he was so engrossed in learning that this thing he didn't think about.
Like a phone call.
The driver of the okay, I put it.
Friday night.
No, they have a Shabbos for them.
Good kasha.
After the shiur for this, but
Good kasha.
they don't.
He said that he saw that the Rebbe was walking. The Rebbe was walking very brisk when he would walk. He walked quickly. So already the Rebbe was walking quicker, and the Rebbe was already behind. And was coming to the house. And later on, they wanted the Rebbe to have some sort of level of security, but the Rebbe refused to have any security or anyone escort him. So they did and at one point they arranged that Bachrim the Rebbitzin was concerned for the Rebbe, but the Rebbe didn't want anyone to walk. He went home himself. He walked from shul home, and he walked very pashut without gabayim. He walked all by himself, private.
How far is it?
Not so far. No, it's probably less than 10 minutes. Maybe 7 minutes. Not far at all.
Can I say a story?
Yes.
That's what a story from Nana Babaja. Used to be a guy named Miller.
Louder.
Used to be a guy named Miller who had a butcher store on Kingston Avenue between Union and Eastern Parkway. He was above the chassid. This story I heard from his
Right across from 770.
No, on the same side as 770. That was before they took over the full block. And when the Rebbe's mother was still alive, used to go every day at a particular time to have tea with her. And this butcher knew about it. The famous Chazan Miller, that's his father.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he was a butcher. So, what? Yeah, I don't know what it's. Anyway, so every day at that time, so he used to go outside and he used to
Watch.
He used to go like this to them. He used to like this. Said one day he told me other stories, but this is the guy what you're talking about. So he sees a guy approach the Rebbe and the Rebbe and he asks the Rebbe something, and the Rebbe starts going like this, like he's giving directions, and he turns and he keeps on walking. So he went over to the guy. He says, "What did you ask this Yid?" So he asked him directions how to get to the Baba Rebbe, because the Rebbe lived on Park Place or somewhere over there, St. Mark's.
Behind all the Torah.
So he said, "You know who you asked direction?" He says, "Oh, yeah." He says, "That's the Lubavitch Rebbe." Das Rebbe, mit der Hitler, das ist nicht kein Rebbe. So when I said, I'll return, he says, that with going with this hat, he doesn't look like Rebbe. So the guy said, so this guy Miller said, I don't think you should say such a thing. You know, you should watch out. This is your anyway, he comes back an hour later, white as a ghost. And he comes in and says, "Well, what happened?" He says, "I went to the Baba Rebbe because somebody was sick in my family, and I went to ask him for either eitzes or brachas or whatever, and he told me I can't help you, but the Lubavitch Rebbe can."
Yeah, well, very nice story. Nice story. The Rebbe was very simplistic when he didn't walk. He went on by himself. So they eventually arranged that two Bachrim should follow him, but the Rebbe didn't want them anyone close to him. So half a block away, Bachrim would follow from a distance, but it was like the Rebbe didn't recognize them, and the Rebbe knew that they're following him, but he didn't recognize them. And the simon was that when the Rebbe would get into the house, they would wait till the simon, the Rebbetzin, would like close a window or something to let them know that
He's in.
Everything's okay. They could leave. But the Rebbe didn't. Kilu, he may believe that they weren't. He didn't recognize that he wasn't gyrus, that they're following him.
Aren't there Chashuv people go with two Gavoyim or something?
Saying that there was a big pella that a Rebbe should walk around by himself like that. Chashuv Yid walk like that by himself. Okay. So Rabbi says Sivdalet Kiddush b'Yontiv hu Medivisayfrim. The Seres Hadibris in this week's parish, mean the Seres Hadibris Zocher is saying Shabbos Akash is about Shabbos. Where do we know that he's supposed to make Kiddush and Yom Tov? Medivisayfrim is Midrabanan. The Afa became Yeshlei called Dine Kiddush or Shabbos Chol Dover. Ela she'im ein le'ela kois echad. If you only have one kois, one becher, V'chal Yom Tov Erev Shabbos, and Yom Tov fell out on Erev Shabbos, and the Kiddush of Shabbos, koidem the Kiddush Yom Tov. The Kiddush of Shabbos is before the Kiddush Yom Tov. Kiven she'ikir ha-Kiddush v'Shabbos min ha-Torah. The main Kiddush is on Shabbos is min ha-Torah. Af b'shal ha-Kais b'Seifrim. On Shabbos, Kiddush is min ha-Torah. Al ha-Kais is midrabanan, making a yayin. But since Kiddush essentially is a min ha-Torah d'kedin, so therefore it has precedence over the Kais of Yom Tov. Even the Kais is also midrabanan by Shabbos. But since on Yom Tov, even the Kiddush itself, the Divrei Kiddush is midrabanan, so it's a less of a madrega than the Kais of Yayin on Shabbos. And therefore, if you have Yom Tov first on Erev Shabbos, you have a 2-day Yom Tov, right? You're going the Yom Tov into Shabbos. You're supposed to, and you don't have enough wine, so to let go of the Yom Tov Kiddush, make them pass, and leave it for Shabbos Friday night. Now, what happens if it was the opposite? What happens if the opposite was Shabbos first and then Yom Tov? Right? So says the Alter Rebbe in the Kuntas Achron here in the bottom, he says that you don't need to say that. That's Pashut. If Shabbos is first, even if Shabbos was not greater than Yom Tov, you still do Shabbos first, the Kais. Why? Ein Mavin ala mitzvahs. If you have a chance now, Shabbos to make on the Kais, even though Yom Tov I won't have a Kais, Ein Mavin ala mitzvahs. Kol shekain in a case when Shabbos is more chomer because Kiddush, the Iker of Kiddush is based on a Min HaTorah, definitely comes before. But Alter Rebbe says that the Magen Avraham didn't need to teach us this din, the din of Shabbos first, because Ein Mavin al mitzvahs, obviously, even if they were equal. And by the way, this leads us to a very interesting discussion. That the basis of this Kiddush Alter Rebbe is based on the Radvaz, Rabbi David ben Zimra, from the Svadish Rabbanim in the time of the Beis Yosef, and
So why in Yom Tov we don't say the same thing? In Yom Tov, it's Ein Mavir LaMitzvah. You have now a cup of wine to make Kiddush. Yom Tov, Ein Mavir LaMitzvah, you should make. Tomorrow we're not going to have Shabbos, okay?
so the Dvaz has a very interesting shaila. Someone who was Nebach Leilein, who was sentenced to prison, and when he's asking the minister, should let him out from jail, that he wants to do mitzvahs, he wants to keep certain mitzvahs, let him out different occasions. He wants to grab a minyan, he wants to go to do it. Besides, listen, I'm giving you 1 day a year. 1 day a year, you can go out. Pick your day. So he wants to now know from the Chachamim, which day should he choose? So one, the Chacham told him, one of the Rabbanim told him, Yom Kippur.
No, it's the wrong one.
Said Yom Kippur.
It's wrong.
So, or Megillas Esther.
Wrong.
Or Megillas Esther. So Megillas Esther, because it's presuming Nisa with a minyan dafke. Shein Kain Kippur, you could daven privately the whole Yom Tov Yom Kippur. But Shein Kain Megillas Esther, v'chiv to do it with a minyan. So maybe Purim, maybe Yom Kippur. Says that Advaz, no. Ein Mavin al mitzvahs. The first mitzvah that you need to be out of jail in order to Makai. Maybe you had to in jail, I don't know. But the first mitzvah that's going to come to you that you need to be out of jail to fulfill that mitzvah,
You have to do it.
you can't wait.
Mhm.
Ein Mavin al mitzvahs. Now,
So I'm saying.
there are those that argue with the Advaz, right? Because that Chacham held that no. The Chacham, the Advaz is writing against a certain Chacham. That Chacham held that no. Eina Chanami, there's a Kalal in Chazal and Mavin al mitzvahs. But when something is more Mekudish, more holier, then you don't say the Kalal and Mavin al mitzvahs. You push over a mitzvah till you get to the Mekudish.
The holy one.
But the Advaz says no. Ein Mavin al mitzvahs, that's the klal. You always do what comes first, even though it's less of a madrega of kedusha, more, not less chomer than the other mitzvah. So the Alter Rebbe says that in this case, and the case over here, when Shabbos would come first, right?
For sure.
For sure, you have to do Kiddush first and Shabbos. Even if they would be the same, they would all agree, because even not only that Advaz says you have to do Shabbos, Ein Mavin al mitzvahs. Even the ones who disagree only push it up because the second one's more Kaddish. But if they're both the same, he also holds Ein Mavin al mitzvahs. It's a klal and chazal. So therefore, you definitely always do the Kiddush of Shabbos. If you only have enough for one kois, Kiddush Shabbos or Kiddush Yom Tov, you do Shabbos. And whether Yom Tov is first or whether Shabbos is first. Masha'in ki loiter advaz, by the way, would come out that if Yom Tov is going into Shabbos, you do Yom Tov first, because Ein Mavin al mitzvahs.
How about we say Shabbos in the bigger the Kol Hazmanim and the Kabbalat Shabbos?
Yeah, Shabbos is more chomer.
Muhammad, all the Jewish holiday.
Legabi this inyan of Kiddush, because Kiddush is Minat Torah in Shabbos. Yom Tov is only Midrabanan.
Tzedek had a chassid that they used to get from Tzedek house wood for Pesach. So they sent it to him on B'dikas Chometz. They came next day, he knocked on the door, he want stuff for Pesach. I said, we sent it to you last night. So I got from the Rebbe stuff last night, I think I will wait. And my real mitzvahs.
Siv Hey. Noshim chayavis b'kiddush hayoyim b'Shabbos min haTorah u'b'yontim divrei. Just like the men, women are chayiv in kiddush min haTorah on Shabbos and yontim d'Rabbanan. Va'afa b'shakol mitzvasi shazman grama noshim p'turzman. This has to do with time. Shabbos, the time-bound mitzvah. B'kiddush hayoyim chayavis shenemer zacharis yoyim v'nemer shamaris yoyim. In this week's parsha, we're going to read the Sedra Zacharis Yoyim. In Parshas Oschanim, we're going to read Shamaris Yoyim. Kol sheyeshem b'shmira, yeshem b'schira. anyone who's involved in the Shmira of Shabbos is also shaykh to the Schira. And women, hoyav anashim is haris b'shmirasei, v'shamer by mesis malacha. They are cautioned to stay away from malacha. She misses loisa sekom malacha. V'chol misses loisa se'afshas man gram anashim is harim by. This klal that you're potter from is man gram is only by misasei, but not loisa se. Women are chayiv in the loisa se of Shabbos, in the shamer of Shabbos. Since they're chayiv in the loisa se of the shamer of Shabbos, automatically their harehim was hard as gamkim b'sechiras in the kitchen because it was said zacha b'shem of diba echem namru. It's said together. So kol sheyeshne b'schira yeshne b'shmira, kol sheyeshne b'shmira yeshne b'schira. Kivan she'anashim mechayavis b'kiddush min ha'torah. K'may ha'anashim yichoylis loheitzi es anashim yidei chevasim. Since the women are chayiv in kiddush min ha'torah just like the men, they could pick up the becher and we might see the men. So they, instead of the lady sitting in the front of the table, their wife's going to go sit up over there. El shalatchila ein laheiris came. The shoyel halacha l'maisa. Shalayavayul zalzal b'mitzvahs. L'chatchila, you should not instruct people to do it. Right, a raven. But the pasuk don't hold there is arvus for ladies. So Lamaisa, he says, Shalayavayu, Zalba Mitzvah. Who is Shalayavayu? Who? The men or the women?
Nashim.
Why are they going to Nashim? I think it's going to mean the men. No? So see what Rashi says over there in Dafyid Beis. Because it's probably Gemara and Brachas. I think the part is probably that when if men are going to say that ladies should do it, it's going to come to zilzul mitzvahs. They're sort of like, the ladies, for the ladies things. The men are not going to mechabed the mitzvah if it's something that the ladies are doing. It's the ladies, the men don't have them, men are not able to invite themselves to the ladies. Ladies? Yeah. So Lamaisa, we don't have them lachatchila do it, but it's a narishkeit that the ladies think they have to hear Kiddush from the husbands. It's a shtus.
On Shabbos day.
Shabbos day, Shabbos night, they can make Kiddush by themselves just like the men. They can take out the becher and make Kiddush. They don't need to starve themselves to wait till the men come home from shul. They can make Kiddush themselves. There's no inyan that they're not being right to the men.
There's a bracha for the man. Makes Kiddush, get to the wife. Story of Nachman in the Gemara, you know.
But it's not worth for the Shalom Bayis.
She got angry.
He used to come to make Kiddush after the money.
I got a problem. I made a Kiddush in the house, a lot of people. And one woman came late and she wanted me to make another Kiddush. So I can't. So she made herself. So it was okay.
That's
Yeah.
right way. That's right.
Yeah, unless they don't know how. If they don't know how, you should make.
He took a siddur and she read it quietly for herself. So,
Yes, that's what they're supposed to do. This is the narishkeit that they have, the ladies, that they think that Kiddush is shaykhs to the men. Havdalah is a different issue. Havdalah is a good point. There is a sheet that holds that women are potter from Havdalah. So if you were already yoitza Havdalah, you're not allowed to be moitzi Havdalah, even if she doesn't know how to make Havdalah. You cannot make Havdalah for her because you might be making Havdalah for Havdalah. But she could do it for herself. She should make Havdalah for herself. But a man should make Havdalah if he was already Yoitza, a problem. If you were not Yoitza, no problem. You're making for yourself. She could also listen. Everyone could listen. But you're making only for her, it's a problem. But if you want to make for your son, your son who's not bar mitzvah yet, you can make again to mechanechim. Make the clear in Shulchan Aruch. You can make Kiddush a second time to mechanech this your son who's not bar mitzvah. Not a bracha l'vatal. It's part of chinuch.
People of Yas Mastel they make Kiddush a few times.
Huh? The ladies, they don't put their fingers by the candle. I don't know. They definitely don't do it. The minig is most women don't put their hands by the candle. Not everyone, but some don't.
They don't. When don't they put their hands? When they make the bracha?
A lot of ladies have.
Oh, by the eggs, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So mind you, Chetz to that. When you look at the names, and they used to wear.
So Lamaisa, yeah, let's on the next sif. I don't know about it's a good question when you're asking about the ladies not doing it entirely. I don't really know. Like, they don't put their hands by the ner. Does that mean that now that the whole Inyan of ner doesn't apply to them? There's no mucker in halacha, I think, that the ner doesn't apply to them. This is just a minute. They don't put their hands next to the ner like the men's do.
It shouldn't be halacha.
Well, they could make the
Could be,
bracha. They
but-
make a bracha.
But I think that they have to make the bracha. Pashas, they have to make the bracha.
The husband's not home and she has to make.
I think she has to do it, but they some reason have something where they don't. Not all ladies, but they're not all groups are like that.
I think it's in the beer halacha.
It could be. It could be. One of our first koivets that our koilo published years ago, we had one of the Ingolite wrote very long arichas collecting all the rishonim and achrayim about this minig, the minhagim regarding the women with the ner. I'd have to take a look at what he collected.
Interesting.
Siv Zayin, a koten afilu ben yud gimel. Shana. A koten who is 13 years old. Now, you have to remember, by the way, Api Torah, in order for you to be considered a person to be considered a gadol,
That's how
he needs two things: the years and maturity of the physical maturity of growing 2 hairs around his bris in that area. So he needs to have beisidus and be 13. So you don't know what's going on in shul, you're not going to ask what's going on. So you have a koten, afilu ben yugimel shanam, eini yedua, if you don't know shevi beisidus, eini moitzi isha. He can't be moitzi a woman. Why? She's chayiv min ha-Torah. Bevada, she's definitely chayiv min ha-Torah. Who ain't Michoel on this suffix? Kishem alehevi beisayis adayim u'patakum v'tzamei ha-Torah. And he is only obligated at the suffix. We don't know if he had beisayis or not. Maybe he doesn't have beisayis. He's not chayiv min ha-Torah. L'chein tekadesh ha'isha ba'atzma. So if you have your bar mitzvah, lady has a bar mitzvah boy home, doesn't mean that he could be mekadesh for her. She should make her own kiddush. She doesn't know what his status is.
That's why in the yeshivas, they don't let the young bochum learn for the bar mitzvah. They have to make their own sipping.
Yeah? Because it's interesting, because the straight halacha is that when they're abundant, you can be mekel.
Kamachman.
Don't take lots of Steve like even let.
None of the yeshivas let them?
Huh?
Yeshivas don't let them?
Not in the main minion, they can make their own minion.
Maybe there's another reason for the chumrah. Is that the reason for the chumrah? You heard that? Because I'm also chayshid that they're worried a lot of times mitzvah don't lean properly.
I think that's one of the reasons.
I hear.
I think so. Wait a minute.
When you wrote to me gave me a message this week, that Rosh Hashiva's family don't wear jewelry. You
Right.
meant Rabbi Hutner's family?
No,
Rabbi
Rabbi
Schechter?
Schechter's family, yeah. I spoke to the Grimson.
And then his wife, they don't wear.
Just law.
Very few families like that.
Bechlal or Shabbos? Huh? Shabbos.
They have a chumrah not to wear jewelry on Shabbos, but maybe you'll take it off on Shabbos.
Women.
Women to carry it. There's very few families that
There's a
are.
lot of sheeters, and the neighbors, room to be much.
Right, but there's very few people that are machman klai. So there's one family I know, Lubavitch, a Zirkin family, that they are machman. Yeah, it's cheaper like that. Yeah,
What?
you never know why they're doing it. Now, the im eni adas. What happens if this mother, this woman, does not know how to say kiddush? She was before the days of girls' school. She didn't know how to make kiddush. And the boy, the bar mitzvah bacher, he knows how to make kiddush. He learned, but we don't know if he has beisidus. We don't know if he's chayiv. So what should she do? She should say word by word with the cotton. She'll repeat after him. Even if she doesn't understand Lashon HaKodesh, she'll also say word for word with the Mekadesh. But that's not the minig. No, what's the
He
story?
used to live in Tel Aviv. He grew up in Tel Aviv
Yeah.
before he moved to Chabad.
Yeah.
So the only Chabad bakery was was in Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
But they used to make matzahs over there. So people from Neighbor came to make matzahs by Chabad. There's no choice. Talking about in the 50s. So the Chazon Ish came to the bakery and see a bocher holding the matzahs. Like, hey, what's going on? He said, no, he's a 15-year-old. No, I don't trust him. So let's take him to the room and decide. I have to see if he has to this morning to Cyrus. They came out and said, it's a godel, it's a godel.
The gadol. The matzah is that, that's now in the matzah bakeries, what they do here is that really they hire people that they need the dough, and then but the people that come do the chaburas, they don't do anything that needs lishma. They're just helping out, cleaning and helping the sticks. But if you actually are kneading the dough, or you're mixing the dough with the water, mixing the water and the flour, various parts of the actual making of the matzah and baking it has to be done l'shma, l'shem matzah's mitzvah. And a cotton doesn't have doesn't have das.
Tell him.
So that's a shay. That's not l'chatchila. Oymed al gabov.
Yeah.
I think they're doing it
for the money.
So that's why they say l'shem matzah's mitzvah. Rabbi Zayis says l'shem hamamim. Could be both.
And then they find out some of the ladies are Muslim.
What? Think so?
3 times up in my way.
Really? In America?
You have to make a bitter yadus. If someone coming there,
Yeah.
period, then you'll have to rely on Oymed al gabov.
Which Jewish lady would like to break the finger for 4 months?
They're only 15, 16 years.
It used to be easier, but the Russians, we don't know today. You have to be careful.
No, today they know.
By the way, when it says by Negea davening for the Amud, you don't have to check for base size. Dini de Rabbanon, you don't have to check.
Right.
Now, Dini de Raisa, you have to know. So Tkiya Shofar, for example, you shouldn't hear Tkiya Shofar, a boy that became recently bar mitzvah. If you don't know, it's a mitzvah not Torah, you don't know if he has base size. So when the Chabad are going a mitzvah Shofar, he shouldn't be blowing around Shofar unless you know that he had base size. No, you don't want to. Although, by the way, Minadin, I think the Alter Rebbe said that today, since the Baal Koira reads it, and you've been yotzef from the Baal Koira, we could call up a katan. Huh? The film is different because you're not being moitzi and you're putting the film on that yid. But if the katan would do something, I'm saying the bar mitzvah boy would do something for someone else. You have to know. So I don't know exactly what stage we say that the chazaka is he has the beisidus. At what age do we say that you don't have to check? I mean, that he had it and Shem and now it's nashru if we don't find it. I don't know. Okay. Sif Ches, and I think we'll finish with Sif Ches.
Very good.
Mi she'ein yodei maseges. Very common in Europe. Fortunately, there's a lot of poverty. Today, most of Klal Yisrael is considered quote unquote rich. Most people can afford to pay, are able to pay the bills, and then most people could not afford to pay the bills. Obviously, many people still can't put it, but then it was Roiv, Ruba Klal Yisrael were poor. People were poor. It wasn't like today, people living in the houses here in Flatbush.
They were poor, but they were happy.
No, but most people have.
They didn't need a car.
They're persecuted more.
Ice cream.
Persecuted more. Now we're spoiled.
Try to take away ice cream from the kid. So, throw it.
I one time heard one of the older Chassidim, say, he said, in Lubavitch, what was the taivas that we had in Lubavitch? The taiva was to eat an apple. Eating an apple was considered like a sweet fruit, that was like a luxury that you'd be able to go bite into an apple. A kid's dream was to be able to have an apple. What do you eat? Bread, whatever they had there, milk. To have an apple, it's like it was when we're here to Shoshana Ilanis. Ilanis is the Yanim of Peiris, which is only the Tainug. You don't need to survive, you don't need Peiris. The Chita, the Inyan of Chita and Sa'ira, that you need to survive, you need bread. Peiris is the Inyan of Tainug. That's the Inyan of Chamisha Asa B'Shvat is the person, the person should be Moisef Tainug in Torah. The Geschmack in Torah, the Peiris of the Torah. Not the base, the bread and butter, but the Peiris. having the tainug and the geschmack in learning,
Liebes Etere.
the tainug, enjoying the learning. Person should enjoy the learning, connect with it. Mishen yodem asegis niklis yayin the kiddush b'layla l'hachin tzarich yisud l'kavod halayla l'kavod hayoyim b'yayin the kiddush b'yoyim. He has this big suffix. He doesn't have enough for wine for kiddush at night, for the meal, food in the meal, for the daytime, for the yayin the kiddush of the day. What comes first? So he's going to give the whole order here. Hari kiddush halayla koydem lakoil. Nighttime kiddush, the most important. If you shahu min haTorah, it's min haTorah. You can make on pas. Biyoytz min haTorah on pas. Av b'shiyachol l'kadosh ala pas. The gamal yayin elam b'divrei soifim. It's only midrabanan to make a yayin. It's only the words of kiddush min haTorah. The kaddish b'dvarim, but on yayin. But you can biyoytz min haTorah on pas, and the yayin is only midrabanan. Michoel makin kimin sheikar kiddush min haTorah. Since the very yisoid of Kiddush Hanayim is min haTorah, even its wine comes before everything else. Even the wine of it is only midrabanan. It's a more chashuv midrabanan. Chutz and a pas. Besides for the bread, you're not going to have challah for the meal. That's a problem. Shem'ein le pas lechem mishnah. You don't have lechem mishnah. He kodemes liyayin shel Kiddush halayla b'yikadosh al pas. That comes first. If it's a shayla between having lechem mishnah, pas and lechem mishnah for the suda, or yayin, take the pas first. Why? Shapas hu ikir mitzvahs uda shabbos she efshav v'kaim v'kal pas. Without pas, there's no suda. What am I making kiddush here? There's no suda b'chalal. Hashtakin suda. So the whole yisoid of everything is suda. You had to have a pas. After you have pas, you buy yourself kiddush. V'im yesh le pas le kiddush halayla, v'yayin le kiddush halayla. Why don't you have pas and wine for the night? V'tzarech liknis yayin le kiddush b'yoyim alachan tzarech yisud l'kavod layla v'kavod yoyim. But you don't have the extra food that you want to have with your bread, fish, the salads, the dips. You want to have extra. You want to eat your challah with something. You don't want to eat the challah plain. Eat the challah with another dish. You don't have money for that, and for the daytime wine, and the daytime food. The daytime food comes precedent to the nighttime food, because the kavod the Yom Shabbos is more choshever than the kavod the Laila Shabbos. It's more important to have a choshever suda by day, by night. Someone who has only a little bit of sweet delicacies, push them off to the daytime meal. If you don't have enough money to have kiddush by daytime, or have the extra food besides for your challah, your food for nighttime, kiddush by day takes precedence, because everything by day takes precedence, because it's covered of the yoyim is more important than covered layla. So let's make it for ourselves a little bit of a seder here. Kiddush by night, bread, suda is the most important thing. That's the most important thing.
If he has very little money,
if you don't have, it's a shayla between tzarchi suda shalayla and tzarchi suda shalayim. Tzarchi suda shalayim comes first. Tzarchi suda shalayim. Now, tzarchi suda shall
passes the night.
tzarchi suda the day is more important than even kiddush by day. Because kiddush by day is only here for the cover of the day. There's no din that you're supposed to have kiddush by day. The daytime kiddush, we don't say any special bracha mekadosh Shabbos. We say b'rei priagafim. The daytime kiddush here is because we would only make kiddush by night, will come out that we're gereya and we're mezalzel in the covet of the Yom Shabbos. So Chazal said also by day we're going to make kiddush. So the whole Kiddush by day is a din in the covered Suda of the Yom. Now, very interesting by the Rabbi say.
So why don't we make things special?
Some do.
So there is such a shita in the Rambam, I think, says it's a shita.
They drink
Hasidim
Iblis
do.
wine.
Hasidim do.
They drink Iblis wine.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't make anything.
Well,
You drink
don't
Iblis
start.
wine.
But they say.
It's only one time. One time you Yoitz covered Yom. You don't need to cover Yom a whole day. You had a Kiddush for Yom, one covered Yom. Now, before Messiah, I want to point out one thing. Just to go to Meir, but this is machlokes about Lechem Mishnah. How strong is the obligation of Lechem Mishnah? I mean, the second challah, not the first challah. The Alter Rebbe over here says that pas is the most important thing, and it comes before Kiddush. But he adds in not just pas. The pas of Lechem Mishnah, the second challah, is also more important than Kiddush by the Kiddush by night. The wine of Kiddush by night.
He has so little.
Lechem, the second challah, is more important than Kiddush having wine for Kiddush by night. What's the reason for this?
He has so little money that he could buy only 2 challahs.
Either 2 challahs or 1 challah and having wine. Says the Alter
2
Rebbe,
challahs is more
2
important.
challahs is more important. Why? Because the pas of Suda is more important. But why does that make the Lechem Mishnah more important? So it's interesting. There's an achloikis haposkim. What is the status of Lechem Mishnah? Most achrayim take on, and Bereisha of the Magen Avram, that Lechem Mishnah is a din midrabanan. Now the Gemara says, a Gemara in Brachis, and the Gemara says, and I think it's also somewhere else in Shas, maybe in Psachim. The Gemara says that Chayiv Adam Lefzoya al Shnei Shtei Kikaris b'Shabbos. Shenemar Liktu Lechem Mishnah. The man,
yeah.
it's past week's parasha. Liktu Lechem Mishnah Omer like a goylus. So Liktu Lechem Mishnah Shnei Omer Shnei Omer Lecha. So the question is: this Gemara is this? It's like saying you chayiv to have Lechem Mishnah with a pasuk. Is this min haTorah, or it's only in a smach that's midrabanan? So most acharayim understand it's only midrabanan. It's a smachta. However, the Taz, interesting enough, the Taz holds that's min haTorah Lechem Mishnah. Where is this Taz found? Not here. It's in Hilchos Chanukah. In Hilchos Chanukah, he's busy discussing which one comes first. Ner Chanukah, Ner Shabbos, Pas, Lechem Mishnah. He's making a seder, and he says Lechem Mishnah is Deiraisa. It's Deiraisa. He doesn't explain where he learned it out from. The Aruch HaShulchan explains that it's Deiraisa because of the pasuk Liktu Lechem Mishnah Shnei Omer Le'echad, that everyone has to take 2. There's a double lush in the pasuk, and the Taz held that's the Deiraisa. But Lamaisa, all of the pasuk disagree.
Because
it's not
like my Hilchos Shabbos, right?
No, it's the man, right? So Lamaisa, the Alter Rebbe says over here, even though the Magen Avram held that Lechem Mishnah is not such a chiyuv, so seemingly Lechem Mishnah should not push off Kiddush by the wine of Kiddush by night. Over here says the Alter Rebbe, we should pass them like the Taz that held it's min haTorah. It's more important. Why? Because it's possible, because it's possible that the Magen Avram himself would also agree over here.
Wow.
Why? Because although Kiddush by the night is only Derabanan, and Lechem Mishnah is only Derabanan, according to the Magen Avram, but in between the 2 Derabanans, which is the stronger Derabanan, the Lechem Mishnah has an asmachta in a pasuk. Liktu Lechem Mishnah. Masha'inkin Kiddush ala Yayin does not have an asmachta in a pasuk. So therefore, it could be, in this case, you should be pasking like Taz, who holds that Lechem Mishnah is more important than Kiddush by night, because it could be the Magen Avram is masking him in this case. Because this Derabanan of Lechem Mishnah is more important than the Derabanan of making Kiddush ala Yayin. So therefore, this is what he writes in a few lines in the bottom, the Kuntasachin over here, where he explains his psak inside, why he passed like the Taz over here, Lechem Mishnah, because he feels that the Magen Avram probably would agree to this psak. Remez min haTorah is stronger than the Rabbanan that has no remez min haTorah.
The Maral has something about
Rabbi say,
If he doesn't have money for wine, only 2 challahs, right? And Friday night, we make a moitzi, and the next one, he leaves it Saturday morning.
No, Rabbi said, what happened to Taim Chi Shabbos those days? Where was Taim Chi Shabbos?
We have exactly.
Shekayach everyone for joining.